Thank you, Zoc. It's extremely exciting to be here. Thank you very much for having me on.
Whoops. I totally muted myself, but I didn't mute you. So they heard you. So that's good. That's what's important.
Well, I can hear you, and that's what's important to me.
Right. So let's do that again. Welcome, everybody, to xoquetails episode 3, where we talk to somebody from the Keyforge community. And I'm very excited to be joined by quickdraw3457, which you have to tell us all. What is the 3457 for?
So, funny story. I'm just going to go with what I think it might have been Easy Galena, one of the Italian players. What he said to me, he thought that I was using Leet Speak for Easy 3457,
Oh,
and I am not, but I'm going to go with that. That's my story.
that's pretty good. I like
Yeah,
it.
it is. It is pretty
Yeah.
good. That was total coincidence if that is what it spells in Leet Speak. If we have any Leet Speak translators out there,
Well,
or maybe East. I feel like the seven
East.
is probably a
7 is a
T, right?
key. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Maybe the 7 is a Y in Italy.
maybe um, it could be. They're actually just lucky numbers, 34 and 57. Put them together,
I
and
like it.
voila, there we go.
Awesome. And shouts out to the chat. Hey, Fudginator and Ketzer, how you doing?
That's right, Fudge. Thank you. The six and I are not on speaking terms.
So to start things off, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm glad you asked. I have myself here a black Manhattan with bourbon, local bourbon, with some extra black bitters in here as well. One of my favorite drinks. It's 2 parts bourbon, 1 part Averna, lots of bitters, orange slice, delicious.
Awesome. So when you say black bitters, what is that?
So they're like sort of herbal and sort of like nutty and malty a bit. So there's some Angostura bitters in here, and then there's
Okay.
also some black bitters
Okay.
as well. To give it a nice little extra touch.
Awesome. Well, I'm drinking what my friend calls a new fashioned. It is um, a rum, 7-year floor
Mm.
cognac, I believe. Yeah, and with Angostura bitters, with black walnut bitters, some demerara sauce or
Oh
syrup,
yeah.
and of course a Bing cherry. So, cheers, skull.
Skull. Skull, indeed. Mm.
Happy birthday,
One of my
Ketzer.
favorites. Yeah, happy
Drinking
birthday,
Jaeger.
Ketzer. Ketzer, if you guys, I'm just going to do a self plug here. Ketzer was on last night on Bottom of the Beaker. He was fantastic. It was a really, really awesome show. It was a lot of fun last night. So if you haven't seen it yet, please check out Sloppy Lab Works Twitch channel or the podcast.
Yes, twitch.tv/sloppylabwork. It was a great episode. Ketzer is always great. We need to see more of him. Like
We
everything that he
we
does is done like a rock star. He's awesome.
Keyforge needs more Ketzer. I'm being totally real. Like it was
Yes.
such a fun conversation, different perspectives that you don't really talk about as much, I think, in Keyforge. And it was just so much fun. Just thank you, Ketzer, for coming on last night, and happy birthday.
Yeah, and exactly like those different perspectives are important because a lot of people that may not be producing content probably have those similar perspectives or see things from a different way. And so being able to hear someone that also sees it differently and that they like a different aspect of the game, it's awesome because there's so many ways to love Keyforge.
Yes, that is extremely true. Infinite
Awesome.
universe. Yeah.
So let's go back to the basics. You're obviously big into Keyforge, and we'll talk more about your accomplishments later. But how did you get into Keyforge, and why have you kind of stuck with it?
Yeah. So I got in shortly after Coda came out. Originally, the hype that I had heard, the first thing that I had heard about the game was about how some of the decks had offensive names, and that was how I had heard about it. And I had a
Nice.
friend that played, and he was kind of encouraging us to get into it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to get one of these band decks, and that's literally the reason that I bought a deck or two.
That
And
is so awesome.
that's how I got pulled in, was the lure of like an extremely offensive name. And as luck would have it, my very first deck I ever opened was probably the least offensive name of any Archon ever in Keyforge. It is called the Acceptable Smith. So I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to get, a racist emperor or something like that. So I'll stick with the Acceptable Smith, and it's a fun deck, and I'm always going to remember that one.
That's so cool. And what's up, Stalker? Yeah, Ketzer Forge. Oh, I like it. So the Acceptable Smith. What was memorable about the deck? Was there something cool about that deck that made you say like, "Oh, I got to play more," or was it just like the gameplay? Or
It was so I really liked the combo that it had, which was I think two inspirations, a Witch of the Eye and a Virtuous Works,
ooh,
and it had some turns where it could get like 6 or 9 or whatever it was in a turn, and that was kind of cool. I thought the deck's not very good, and all everyone knows you have to kill the witch, so it never
yeah,
really doesn't really work, but it's pretty cool. Uh, I have a few other decks with like the Witch of the Eye and the Inspiration and the Virtuous Works as well. So it kind of like led me into that. I'm not like a super combo oriented player, but I like that little stuff like that.
and you like complexity with
I do,
DT, of course.
of course. Yeah, so much has changed from the Acceptable Smith to DT now.
Yeah, yeah. And so maybe that was a little bit of a taste. Maybe majority of Coda not as exciting as some of the other stuff, but
I don't knock on Coda. Like I actually love Coda for the simplicity.
okay.
Like it's so easy to just get a game of Coda and play it quickly, and the cards are simple, and it's just
Yeah,
fun to me. Like it's simpler, but that's not a negative thing in my mind. It's great to have a set like that you know you're able to just breeze through games when you both know the cards and just have a good time.
I agree. And it's really elegant, and I think it was like the perfect kind of starter for everybody to introduce them to the game.
Yeah. And the testament really to the success of this game and how well this was designed is that there are still Coda decks that are good.
Yeah, totally. That is so cool.
It's not just
Um,
like a simple dumbed down version of the game. Like it's still legit quality cards in there.
yeah, and especially in the NKFL lately, and even a little bit in KFPL, we've seen, of course, we've seen the rise of mass mutation, but we've seen like some old Coda bangers is a good kind of uh counter to some of the mass mutation stuff.
That's 100% true, and it's something that I learned the hard way this season. I mean, not that I've had a bad season, but I've had a hole in my lineup, and that hole was I am very weak to Coda Rush.
Mm.
Rush in general, but I had a few matchups where it was like up against a lot of Coda Rush, and I have two decks that are just not really that good against it. I'm always cornered to play one of those two in the last matchup against a Rush deck, and it's been something that I've been thinking about this season. Got to improve on. But yeah, it's still got a great place in the meta, especially like you said, versus mass mutation. If you don't have the Infernuses, it can be pretty rough.
Yeah. And shout out to Stalker. Thanks for gifting a sub to Ketzer. You rock.
Yeah.
They've
Happy
given
birthday.
6 subs in the channel. Thanks so much, Stalker. And yes, happy birthday, Ketzer. All right. On to some of the cool stuff that you work on. You've been hosting Bottom of the Beaker with Sloppy Lab Work for now 40 episodes.
Crazy.
It
Time
is
flies.
crazy. It's very impressive actually, every week. It takes a lot to do that. So
Well,
kind of
JT is the one with perfect attendance. So, like, shout out to JT. It's past his bedtime tonight. He told me he wasn't able to stay up this late, but JT has perfect attendance on Sloppy Lab Work, Bottom of the Beaker. I've missed a number of episodes. I'm going to be missing another one next week. I missed one last week with Murph. So JT is the one that really like star of the show right there, and he's
that's
the
true.
I called him the tech lead. He's he takes care of all the background stuff, the hosting. I've done a couple of them. He tried to like he was like, "Yeah, quick draw, you want to host this week?" And I was like, "No, I'm good.
Nice. Good call.
I can, but he does such a good job. Why would I take that from him?"
Absolutely. Well, and so, but you are, I mean, I'm sure you're the second most easily
Yeah, that's
host.
right.
Um, you're the foil to the JT. What do you get? What do you get out of it for doing it for so long? What are you proud of, and how do you kind of keep motivated to keep producing awesome content every week?
It's just fun. Like he and I just do it for fun. Like we just enjoy talking about the game. When we went into it, we actually talked about doing a podcast for a while before we ended up doing Bottom of the Beaker, which started it as just a Twitch stream. And then I think we kind of like, after a while, we're like, hey, we can just pull the audio and make it a podcast. And it was pretty easy to do that since JT did all the hard work. um, but we started just as like a, strategy thing and the important thing that I always stuck to and that we both stuck to is that we only wanted to talk about things if we had something new to add to the conversation, because there's been so many great podcasts and content creators over the years of this game. We thought, like, we're not just going to like rehash the same thing. If we didn't have something new to say about it, and I'm not saying that those things are smart things, we just wanted to say it because it's fun for us. And so I don't really want to do an episode where we like talk about something that's been talked about many times. And so that's the important thing for me as far as the content goes. And lately, I've really been happy that we've had a lot of guests, because the guests add like a new flavor and a new layer. Like, we can keep the same format, we can talk about things in a similar way, but then we get like the fresh perspectives on there, and we can talk about very specific things that people are interested in talking about that we wouldn't necessarily think of. Last night we talked about fighting with Ketzer, and like there was a lot of things that I just never thought about, like about fighting and why you do it, and kind of breaking it down and analyzing it in that way, to me, was super interesting.
I totally agree. It was really cool, and it's also something that we don't have a lot of in the content that's out there. To your point, it hasn't been done before, but nobody's talking strategy for, you know, not oubliette, but I always
Ooh,
get
there might be an
Morai.
oubliette episode soon. There might
Woo!
might be.
Nice.
That's in the works. Yes.
But Morai, kind of all those cool, adaptive, um,
Hmm.
yeah, that, and so I think it is something that really adds to the community.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that, because, like I said, we just do it for fun, and if other people get something out of it, and that's just a bonus for me.
Good, and then maybe for next ABR, I'll do a little bit better if I listen to your oubliette episode coming
Uh,
up.
who did you play this week in your
Easy
oubliette
Galena,
match?
actually.
Okay, lots of easy Galena references this week.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
I ended up winning mine. We both banned a house that we neither of us had, so like we
Oh.
both had 2 versus 2. Um, and I ended up playing a deck called the Stallion That Mugs Conspiracy. It's a Worlds Collide deck with Saurian, Shadows, and Untamed. A lot of creature control, some dinos, too much to protect, and Brend. Pretty solid deck. I got to play that one, and they were playing an AOA deck, which really just low rolled badly. All of his good
Hmm.
cards were on bottom, and this is Keyforge, right?
That's right. The Stallion. I like that one. I feel like I have one that's similar. I'll have to look it up later. But
Yeah.
cool. So one thing I love kind of silly questions that get you thinking. What creature from the Crucible would you have as a guest on Bottom of the Beaker, and what would the subject be?
Oh. A creature from the Crucible. So I'm going to take your words literally, and I'm not going to necessarily choose a creature that's part of Keyforge,
I like it.
but a creature in the Crucible. And I think this is an easy answer for Bottom of the Beaker. And if you're listeners, you'll probably know what I'm going to say. And the answer is that lab created duck, for sure. That duck, 3% better than, a regular Earth duck. And I would love to talk about what makes that duck 3% better. What is this 3% that
Mm.
we're missing out on with this Earth duck? I think that'd be some great content.
I think it would be really great. And you guys talk about ducks a lot, but you've never had a duck on Bottom of the Beaker. So I
We're
mean, you
we're
guys
waiting.
need to correct that.
We do, and so we'll hopefully make that happen with this duck from the Crucible.
I
I
like
hope
it.
so. And while I'm talking about that duck, I actually have been thinking about when Logos comes back, they need to bring back the duck. And I
Yeah.
want them to make a duck, and I want them to make the lab generated duck. And I'm trying to find a way to make it 3% better. So like maybe one of them has like a 1 power, and then the lab generated duck has a 1.03 power. But then I was like, rules wise, that's going to be a huge pain to have a 1.03 power.
Right. But how can you get 3% using just Keyforge stuff? Maybe 1 out of 36 cards in a deck is roughly 3%. So
It
maybe you could
is
use
it
that.
is close. Yeah, it's actually pretty close. And so maybe it's like random decks will have a 37th card, and that 37th card is a duck.
I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking like, oh, you take a random card from your deck, which is 1 out of 36, as
Okay.
part of the action or something, and you do something with it.
Interesting.
I don't know. Yeah,
We're
you'll
gonna
have to work
brainstorm
on
this.
it. Yeah.
We will.
And
Yeah.
then send it to Ghost Galaxy and say, if you don't
Right.
do this, Keyforge will fail.
Yeah. You need to make this duck. Everyone's been waiting for this duck since AOA.
That's right.
Where's the duck?
Where's all the ducks, as Fudginator says? Um, another question I had, and um, I actually got this. It wasn't straight from ChatGPT, but I asked ChatGPT, like, what are some good interview questions to ask?
Did you ask ChatGPT specifically questions for quick draw?
No, I didn't.
I wonder what it would say.
Well, does ChatGPT know you on a personal, like, on a name
I
basis?
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Well, I'll have to try that.
I
But
don't think it does. I've never used ChatGPT.
okay, it had something about like asking, oh, what movie would they want to be in, or like what character would they be in a movie? And I was like, whatever. But I was thinking of your team because you have a lot of interesting characters on your team. And I was thinking like this is like the perfect like kind of weird group of people for a sitcom. So
Oh wow.
imagine the Sloppy Labyrinth team was a sitcom like Friends or like Seinfeld. What would your character be known for?
Uh, I'm a Seinfeld fan, so I'm going to go with that one over Friends. And the first thing I'm going to say is Crusader, who is unfortunately definitely not watching because he doesn't even watch Bottom of the Beaker. He is the Kramer. He is the Kramer
Nice.
of the team, 100%. He's a riot. Um, and we always give him crap for not watching or listening to Bottom of the Beaker. That's the easy part of it. I think for me, I'm definitely a George Costanza type, where I have these pet peeves that I just can't let go, and it's gonna bother me, and it's just gonna like boil over eventually. And I think, yeah, I'm not cool enough to be Jerry. I don't think I'm like neurotic enough to be Newman,
Hmm.
so I'm gonna go with George, I think.
I like it. I can't wait until you boil over on some Bottom Maker episode. And
Oh man, if you get JT talking about how good Worlds Collide is, I might boil over.
they're a strike edge. Is JT
Is
Jerry
JT Jerry?
from
Um,
Fudginator?
yeah, I think he's got to be right.
I think he's got to be.
Yeah,
Not tonight,
and not.
Elaine.
I mean, that's. I mean, is that sexist? I don't know.
I don't know. Fudginator asks, who's JDG and who's the soup Nazi?
Mm. I mean, Crusader could be a lot of these characters. Let's be real. I wish people knew Crusader as well as we know Crusader. Um, Crusader is one of those people where you would just like if he was on Bottom of the Beaker once,
Yeah.
and I think he kind of like turned on his radio voice and his radio personality. If Crusader would just like be Crusader and make more appearances, he would steal the show,
Hmm.
like hands down. He would be like, people would be like, "Who's Quick Draw? Where like why is Quick Draw here again? Where is Crusader?" So,
Maybe I'll have
um,
to have him on, but it's like in the middle of the
oh, you
night for
should.
him, right?
It is right now. Yeah,
I'll have to figure out a good subject for Crusader.
yeah. We sometimes adjust our recording times to like a EU friendly time to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
some guest appearances. So Crusader he's the soup Nazi. He's Kramer. He is Newman. He is
I
all of it
like it.
wrapped into one.
I like it. I gonna jump around a little bit. Like you've been a really consistent player, like across a bunch of leagues, KFBL, or sorry, Kagi, ABR, NKFL. Um, like what do you value in your Keyforge playing ability? Because you obviously do it well. And everybody plays it a little bit differently. So kind of what do you value of your skill?
That's very nice of you to say that. I actually don't have a very consistent uh, performance in ABR. That's like one where yeah, I can't. It's a nut I can't crack so far. I'm having a pretty good season this year. I
Yeah,
think I'm 4-2, or maybe
I
five
think
and two.
you're 5-2.
5-2. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't even keep track in AVR. I don't know. Um, I've only done 2 seasons of the NKFL, and it's been a lot of fun. Um, 2 very successful seasons. I am waiting still to find out if I will win my group this season in bronze. There's one more match that will determine it. But I don't know. I always like to credit my team because, like, when I watch like JT Russell and Not Tonight and Now in Stereo and JDG and Kveld, and I watch their games, they're just like they're so good. And we talk about games like we always love watching each other's games. That's like our favorite thing. And I think it's probably made like some other teams a little like uncomfortable because like every time they start a game against someone from Sloppy Lab Work, there's like 4 spectators immediately join. We just love watching each other's games and we chat about it afterwards. We talk about things that like we would do differently. And so I just learned so much from them. It's just it helps so much. And we talk strategy about like especially in these formats where you choose decks and you have like a lineup you have to make and you have a strategy you have to take going into it to what you do. Like we do some preparation like that. And that's really good for me. I would say though, like for me, especially in Kagi. So here's one thing that I do in Kagi, which is probably a little unconventional, is when I go into a Kagi match, I do not look at decks of Keyforge. Um, I play the game and I look at their deck, and I think I've gotten pretty good over the years of like being able to check a deck list and pick out the things that I'm worried about, pick out the things that I think are important. I don't memorize all 36 cards. We had an episode on memory.
Yeah.
There are like things that you can do to do that, and I've just kind of, I guess, been too lazy to actually like learn that myself.
Yeah.
Um, but I am pretty good at like seeing the Archon list, understanding which cards I need to look out for. Sometimes like it's turn 2 and they'll play like a certain card I'm afraid of, and I'm like relieved that it's gone, and I can play differently and adjust from there. But I do think that like decks of Keyforge influences you in a weird way, where like you see the SAS obviously, but also the arc scores. It's kind of a crutch, and I when I play Kagi matches, I find if I don't look at it, I'm more focused on the important things and the things that I know that I should be worried about. Like I don't see all of a sudden like, some deck has like 23 amber control and I'm like instantly scared about all that amber control, but then it turns out that like some of it's fake because it's from Ludo, some of it's fake
Yeah.
because it's just capturing and they have nothing they can do with it.
Yep.
So like you have to look at like the whole deck as a whole and not try to be like influenced by these other outside things. Um, Whenever I first started, probably like around AOA or Worlds Collide, Now in Stereo and I like became good friends around that time, and we were like the first two that we kind of just talked back and forth in a DM a lot. We came up with like a lot of different things to kind of evaluate decks, and Doomies was one of them. He wrote an article on timeshapers.com about Doomies.
Yeah.
He coined that term. He and I talked a lot about that. And then as part of these conversations, I also made myself a spreadsheet to kind of um, pick out specific cards that I'm looking for in houses and what they do. And so, like, I had this list where it was like, here's all of the cards that affect my amber if I have more than 6 amber. And I sorted it by house so that I could easily see here's everything that affects me if I go above 6. And you start to notice trends like that when you say, like, okay, well, like, Saurian has no artifact control. And you know right away that if you're looking for artifact control and you see they have Saurian, you don't have to worry about artifact control there. You look in the other houses for it. And as you kind of, I made this list, it only went through Worlds Collide and I kind of stopped updating it. But when you make this list, and I had like probably 12 different categories of things I was looking for, I got pretty good at saying like, okay, like they're in shadows, so they have no board wipe, and they have sorry, and they have no artifact control, and um, Logos has everything, of course, because like Logos, of course, like why not?
Yep.
Um, so I think that helped me be able to read Archon lists a lot better, and I think that's probably like the one thing I do best, where I can kind of just like look at the lists in like 30 seconds, pick out all the important things that I need. I'm not going to memorize everything, but it helps immensely when you go into the match, like having a better understanding of what you're looking out for.
That's awesome. I also made a spreadsheet with similar categories. It's like, what are all the big
Everyone
Amber
loves
Control ones? Like
loves spreadsheets. Yeah,
spreadsheets, yeah. But that's really exciting, and it's a huge skill. Like, I feel like it's even more important in like real life Keyforge, being able to like use those 2 minutes to look at the deck list and get all the key information from it. Um,
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I got to correct Fudginator. I don't have a 100% presence in Kagi Top Cuts. I've made 6 out of 7. I missed one. I don't remember what happened that season. Must have had too many of these drinks before my matches, for all I know.
But 6 out of 7 is pretty good. Plus two
No, I'm very proud
finals,
of that. Yeah,
winning back in Kagi 3, I believe. So very impressive.
Ashitaka got his revenge this season.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
um, yeah. So that's good. So, um, especially being a good player and knowing, I mean, you talked about you knew what houses have kind of what. How does that translate to sealed for you? Like, do you have like a memorable sealed experience or kind of like, I would imagine that kind of skill helps a lot for seal because you know what they could have.
Well, it's since I like started studying that, I have been like not good at sealed. I don't know what that means. I like now in stereo, I think is like a million and 0 against me in sealed. Like
Wow.
he's an incredible sealed player. I can't beat him in sealed in the same way that I can't beat JT Russell on bottom of the beaker. Like it just I don't know what happens. Um, but my best memory from a sealed tournament was the AOA release event at my local
Mm.
gaming store. And I was, fairly new to the game. I didn't have a lot of extensive research. I wasn't like, I didn't really know anything about what the cards did in AOA. I might have seen some spoilers. I don't remember. But I went into this and it was a 20-person tournament, which was really good for our local store at the time. And it was just a single deck sealed, one deck sealed. I ended up with, I forget, the Diss of Stokegate, I believe it's called. It's a 59 SAS. It's got like 2 Mars Needs Amber, 2 Ronnie wrist clocks, but it's still
Oh,
just a 59.
yeah.
And I ended up winning the first 3 games. And then we went into the last game, and there was only like me and one other guy were the only undefeateds left um, out of 20, which is I think kind of unusual for just 3 games, right? Like, is that even
Yeah.
possible? Am I misremembering? I don't remember. Um, but it came down to this last game, and I was against this other guy, and it was probably like turn 3 or 4, pretty early in the game. Maybe it was a little later than that. He ended up having a Restringuntus, and I had no creature control for it, and he called a house that I had 5 out of 6 of in my hand.
Ooh.
And I was like, this is it. The run's over. It was fun. And I called the house that I had the one of. I just played it or discarded it, whatever it was. And I drew one card, and it was an unlock gateway that I was allowed to play and allowed to call the next turn. And that my whole next turn was just an unlock gateway. I turned it around, ended up winning that game somehow,
Wow.
and I went 4-0. I won my local gaming store's AOA sealed release event with 20 people.
That's
So
so cool.
yeah,
What a
that's I
story.
still have that deck. Thank you. Yeah, I have that deck. I'm never gonna sell it. It's not good. I tried bringing it to like our Archon tournament the week after that and got smoked. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Ah, yeah. Well, that's like the memories of Keyforge too. And uh, what I really like about Sealed is kind of like learning a deck over like, the few games that you have it as in course of a tournament, and that creates so much memory, and especially in like a tournament like that. So good.
Yeah, yeah. I still don't know why that deck's not good. It looks pretty cool. Like it's got some synergy with the Marzian's Amber. It's got the Ronnies. Like this is great, but still fun. Still great memories.
That's awesome. Um, I was gonna ask you about this Bulmer Peak, and so I'm gonna do it because I think you had even first mentioned it, but
I remember the first episode with JT about it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, but I feel like I got it before that via some other discussion. I don't remember anymore. But
I've referenced it a lot probably because I work in tech, and so everyone talks
yeah,
about the Balmer Peak, the Balmer Curve. My brother talks about it all the time.
I'm guessing it
It's
was
real.
referenced on like bottom of the beaker or something.
Yeah, it probably was.
And that's where I got the question from. But the Balmer Peak is, of course, where the you have the exact right amount of alcohol content in your body where you become a super programmer. And I'm gonna give a quick little view here for everybody in the chat. It comes from XKCD. And so my question is, does Keyforge have a Balmer Peak? And if so, what would it be called?
So I think everything has a Balmer Peak. Like bowling absolutely has a Balmer Peak.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if you're a bowler. Yeah, I mean bowling is like it's like programming and bowling are like one and two when you talk about the Balmer Peak. I think Keyforge probably has it. It is too risky for me to ever try it in events, except maybe that one Kagi that I missed. Maybe that's what
Mm.
happened. Um, I think I came up with the name on your episode with JT Russell, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you shared it. I put it in the chat. I'm very proud of that one. I call it I call it Kilodog's Trench, which I mean it's kind of the opposite. So like you think of Spike, like the peak is different than the trench, but I feel like it's still kind of
It's
gets the
Crucible.
idea across.
Yeah.
I had another idea today though,
Hmm?
Spike Trap,
Whoa.
because you're thinking like, yeah, I'm just gonna have like another drink. I'm feeling great. I'm getting better at this, and you have like that spike, but it's a trap because you're gonna go down very quickly after that.
Hmm. That's a good one. I agree. Yep. All right. The spike trap. Ah, that's very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, we talked a lot about kind of your performance in some of the leagues. Will we be seeing you at Vault Tours, just rocking them out, or kind of any other upcoming events?
I have never been to a vault tour before.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's like
I haven't either.
oh, what really?
Really, the only
I
thing I've really been to is KFC. The
Yeah.
biggest thing
I
since
really wish I could have
besides
gone to
that
that.
was a store championship, but that's like it.
Yeah. I went to a Prime in it was like about an hour and a half away from me that had 24 players, I think, like literally a month before the pandemic started.
Oh,
That was like the biggest in-person event I've been to, but I definitely want to go to Vault Tours, and I'm happy to say that I have everything booked for Philadelphia
all
and I will be
right.
there. So I'm so excited for that. Trying to get a good sloppy representation there. I registered through Ghost Galaxy site. I have the hotel booked. I'm probably going to drive there. I'm just across the state, so it's not too bad.
Okay.
Um, I looked at flights, and for some reason, Pittsburgh to Philadelphia flights that time of year are $600.
Wow,
It's like it's a
that's
45-minute
ridiculous.
flight, but I was like, no, I'm going to drive. It's fine. I'm going to make it there. Like it's too close for me to say no. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
do it.
yeah. Well, that's
So
great. I'm
super excited.
I'm jealous. It seems like there's going to be a lot of cool people in Philly, so
Well, I
I hope you
saw
have a
on
blast.
the last episode of Xoquetails, uh, Zach said that he would be there as well. I was
And his whole
very excited
crew.
to hear that.
Yeah, yeah,
I want to meet Zach in person. He seems like an awesome person to hang out with.
definitely.
Uh, you should come to Philly.
It's not gonna happen. I'm sorry. I think it might even overlap with one of my trips that I have planned. But right now the plan's Dallas. Um,
Good.
and we'll see if anything else is announced that's closer. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I saw Murph, I think, was joking about Philly. I hope you're not joking. You should come, Murph. Come to Philly.
Sounds like he's trying to. And then Ketzer says he's probably gonna do Gen Con, so that's cool. I've
I
never
really
been to
wanted to do
Gen
Gen
Con.
Con. I've actually always wanted to do Gen Con, but Gen
Yeah,
Con is like the first or second week of August all the time, right?
yeah.
And that happens to be my wedding anniversary. So
Oh.
I don't think I'm ever gonna go to Gen Con. I really wanted to go this year.
Yeah.
Um, and then when so I was like thinking, I was like trying to like talk my wife into letting me go to Gen Con this year. And then they announced the Vault Tour in Philly for July. I was like, this actually makes a lot more sense. So
Awesome. I think that's a good choice.
yeah, pretty pumped
Um,
about it.
so let's see. We're getting up on let's see, 40 minutes. We I guess my main thing I want to ask is what else do you want to tell the Keyforge community that you just want to get out there or kind of anything that we want to say? Is there anything?
Nah, I mean, I have a platform on Bot on the Beaker, and I get to spout my mouth all the time on there. I don't know. I guess you asked earlier about what kept me in Keyforge, and one thing I did not talk about that I really need to is that I felt like this community, and in particular, Sanctimonious was like one of the first large online communities I went to and joined. Um, I loved the positivity and the camaraderie that it had. Like it was different. Like I've played other competitive games before, and there's obviously nice people everywhere, but the vibe there was different, and that kind of it kept me in, like having so many good people around that were um, always positive, like focusing on the positive, not really letting, negative discourse take over anything like can often happen on the internet. And I just really love that. It was just really like rejuvenating to have that positivity. And it's different in Keyforge, and it's not just sanctimonious. That just happened to be the first one that I joined. And so I'm just overjoyed to like get to meet a lot of these people in person now. Um, because it's just been so much fun the last like 3 years having this digital life of playing Keyforge that I've only recently started, you know, putting my face out there on Twitch and things like that. It's just been a lot of fun. Like we've just had a great time with it, and it's just I'm really excited to meet people, and um, I don't know, yeah, it's a community thing,
That's
and
awesome.
it's probably like totally different than what maybe you expected to hear, but I just kind of it stuck with me. It stuck with me for years. Like this community is really special. We should enjoy it and cherish it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's good. So one of the things I talked about with QuickDraw before is doing part of our fresh marks with QuickDraw, and QuickDraw is an expert in DT
Mm,
best set, and
I'm
so
not
I
Murph.
thought
I
it would
mean,
make sense to have QuickDraw here to go over the latest fresh marks specifically on DT decks. So let's jump right into that.
sweet. I
Uh,
love
let,
fresh marks, by the way.
oh, thank you. Yeah, we have some few kind of people that really love it, and so that makes me happy.
It's great to have like that. It's in one of those other things. It's like you don't really get a lot of other places, but like having this analysis and view of these sales, and you're not at all like it's not like you're advertising your own decks. You know what I mean? Like you're just going through here and like these are the decks that happen to be listed for sale this week. There was one time I listed a deck that like was almost good enough to qualify, and I was like, I should go on Fresh Marks and advertise it here, but I didn't, But it's really cool to look at this stuff and see what's out there and see how the market's going. And I'm sure you're taking a lot of data to kind of figure out how this is trending, especially with Winds of Exchange coming out now. I think comparing the values in 2 months from now to the values like 6 months ago, I think would be really interesting to analyze, right?
I do have data that I've been tracking. I haven't really necessarily thought about it in that way. Part of this, I just wanted to learn more about the secondary market because honestly, like I had never bought anything from a secondary market, total noob, and I wanted to just be kind of wiser with how I use my money, and maybe instead of opening a bunch of decks and
Yeah,
most of them aren't good, really think about what do I really want, and go and buy it. And so part of that was like, hey, I need to learn about the secondary market to see like how much is stuff worth, what is stuff
yeah.
selling for. And so that's kind of been my thought process.
Yeah, we had an episode on Bottom of the Beaker about the secondary market before. Like historically, I've not been a huge player in it. There have been like two decks that I've purchased that have been like purchased with the intention of being competitive decks. One was a DT deck that I got right when DT came out, and I still love the deck. It's still fantastic, probably one of my top three decks. And the second one was it was actually mentioned on Fresh Marks probably like 2 months ago, maybe. It was a
Yeah.
Worlds Collide deck, and that one's also been extremely good. So I've been like very, very prudent with like what I am purchasing online. Like I buy a ton of things that I'm like, that's really fun deck, that's cool, collector's item kind of thing, 25, $50, whatever. But like for looking for the kind of things that are featured in Fresh Marks, it's been like I'm pretty stingy about it. So
Yeah,
got to find the right thing.
I haven't bought anything that would be featured on Freshmarks.
Yeah,
Uh, but but I wanted to learn, so just in case.
that's it. That's good. I
Yeah.
like I like that mindset of like trying to be educated and learning before you like jump into something that's
Yeah.
yeah.
And what better way other than to have spreadsheets? And I might as well share it with the world because the community is awesome. Kind of tying it back to
I
what
love
you
it.
said. So
Yeah.
let's jump right in. We actually have 7, I think, DT decks this week, including a very special one, which we'll get to.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
we
Okay.
have someone perfect to talk about it. But we're going to jump right into The hoodlum that quarantines a device. A 71 SAS DT. Logos, Sanctum, Untamed. Uh, what do we see here?
All right. So normally fresh marks is 85 plus, right? And so
It
the
is for
DT,
everything else, but last week was my first week. Was it last? I don't know. Very recently, I was like, what am I doing? I'm not including any DT because like there's never a 85
Mhm.
plus DT deck that's being sold.
Yeah, no one
Um,
wants to sell those because they're priceless.
yeah, and like Fudgenator says, DT sets just doesn't make sense, right? It's not
Mm,
realistic. So right now, what I'm going with is 70 SAS and above. Now I might tweak that in the future to see what the right number is to have a good set of number, not too much, not too little. But right
yeah,
now it's 70 plus for DT.
yeah, I like that. That's I totally agree with that. I like the approach here. Um, and you can find a lot of things in low 70s that are very good for
Yeah,
DT. So
yeah,
I think that's a good line to start with, definitely. So the hoodlum, it's got 19 pips,
that's a lot.
30 expected amber. The
Yeah,
low creature control, it doesn't bother me as much with DT. Like there's things that you can work around with DT that I've seen more DT decks with low C that work that you might not think.
and the
Um,
Pester Grove does a lot of work actually.
Shout out to Ketzer. I talked
Yeah,
about Pester Grove last night. There it is. Um, I also noticed the double ritual of balance. Like the more of those you get, the more
that is
interesting
so
it gets.
cool. Yeah,
I targeted a deck with like 3 ritual of balances before, but it didn't have the efficiency, and so this has a little bit of efficiency. So like having a couple of those is not bad. You can take them off check if they have 7 with Untamed, which is um, kind of unusual. It's got the Mooglings to go with it. The more you look at the DT decks that are listed in Fresh Marks, you thankfully gave me like a heads up on these ones
yeah,
because there's so much that you like need to look at, and the more you look at it, the more you notice with DT. I think so.
yeah. This
Um,
one's got a lot of synergy. Like for the
it
ritual
does.
balance, you mentioned the Mooklings. It also has a Seneschal Sargassa, which could also help you kind of make those hit like a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, yeah, it's a cool one. I don't know if the ruins of Arconis will come ever really pop for you, but it might.
Yeah, it does have think twice. It's got phase shift, so if you do like a phase shift, think twice, both in a turn,
Yeah,
potentially. That
yeah,
right there is 5 plays, which just phase shift something, think twice, phase shift something. So then you just
true.
need one more
Oh
card.
yeah, that's true. Not
Cool.
bad.
Yeah, so nice looking deck. It's being sold by Chimera. Does not have a listed price.
All right.
All right, moving on. Let's see, Ketzer says it looks like it wants to sit on the tide. Maybe Mechabui and the Sargassas might prompt the opponent to take it from you, especially with only the 2 Tide Razors, but the efficiency super helps with the chains. Yep.
Yeah, it's all good, all true.
All right, moving on to a Tom Moxel of Sotheby.
All right. This one's being sold by Spymaster. There's no price listed on this one. 14 pips. A really good arc spread. I love this arc spread. This is like the sweet spot for what I look for with like a deck in general, where you have like 10 or
Yeah,
above amber control, 20 or above expected, 10 or above creature control, and it's got hard R with the borrow, which is, I guess it's almost hard R. It's pretty good though.
yeah,
Um, so it's got a nice split right there. And it's got a little bit of efficiency with the Star Alliance. Um, all around looks like fairly solid. This is one that like the more I looked at it, the more I liked it. Um, the couple of Valmarts and the Triska can really tax them a lot. Um, Dead Man's Chest, I unfortunately always find that every deck that comes in doesn't quite have the right kind of creature control to make a trigger for you.
definitely.
Um, Most of the creature control in this one comes from Maelstrom, which isn't going to help you with Dead Man's Chest, but
Yep.
um, not bad. Yeah, Hard Simpson and a couple ways to ping it is pretty good too.
Yeah, it's got the Seeker Needle. I like that.
And the Mac the
Mud,
Knife.
Mac the Knife. That's great too. And then
Yeah,
it has both artifacts and shadows and unfathomable to maybe get some value out of that United Action.
that's right. Yeah, gotta look for the artifacts with United Action. It's a good one.
Yeah, it is a really nice shadows. All right. That is a Tamoxel. Moving on to HB She Abete la Sacencia del Puma. Man, I am not even close on that one. It's a
So, all right, HB. Okay, this isn't an Italian, so it's HB che abate la sacenza del poema.
excellent,
I didn't practice that one.
excellent.
My Italian's usually pretty good, but
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have you on like every week. This is being sold by Golipo. No list price. A Logo Sanctum Star Alliance. Um, it does have kind of the good amber amber control, expected amber, creature control, messing on the R, but a little bit more efficiency here. Not a lot of Pipso, but some really fun stuff in Star Alliance.
yeah, the Star Alliance is what I noticed too. The Unity or Discord with 4 upgrades, 3 of them that have 2 of them have a pip, counting shields later, but the Commander Dirkscar with that
Yeah.
could get you a lot of amber really quickly. Professor Emeritus Keyring as well, double of those could get you some extra amber that way. Definitely some burst there in Star Alliance.
Yep, a little bit of speed in logos. We got a Theory of Conjecture, Think Twice, Phase Shift, Eddy. So a little bit of everything. 16 creatures though. 2 Gax. Gax pretty good.
Gak's really good, and it's got a Diplomat Agung to go with it.
Yeah.
Gak, I think, is the best board wipe in the game.
Ooh, best board wipe in the game.
Yeah, I do think so.
That's pretty good.
No
Pretty good.
chains. I mean, that's crazy good.
Yeah. I mean, there's Savage Clash. There's, well, anyway, you could have a whole episode on board wipes. That'd be actually a good
Good.
one.
Yeah, whenever JT and I get lazy again, we'll have like a top 10 clickbait list. Maybe we'll do top 10 board wipes.
There you go. All right, moving on. Here's another Italian name also being sold by Galipo. It's only listed for 10 euros, and I'm going to let Quickdraw say the name.
Yeah, so this one is VH che acceca la baia del fastidio.
Awesome. And we got a Fast Untamed. We got lots of Disruption and Unfathomable. Some potential Burst and Sanctum. Some fun stuff. Lots of creatures. 20 creatures with 119 effective power.
Yeah, and 15 creature control. I think a lot of that comes from non-board wipes. It does have an infighting, but the Lord Golgotha is the highest C card in there. So the 15 I feel like is, a bit much because a lot of that comes from Storm Surge, the 3 Recusals Chance. So that's kind of just a temporary solution in those. But looks like a fun deck they released. Double Cleansing Wave. Always love Double Cleansing Wave.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with 20 creatures.
Yeah.
And for, 10 euros, I bet you can get 10 euros of fun and actually probably performance out of that.
I totally agree with that. That's
Yeah.
10. That's easily 10 years worth of fun.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We have a special deck here. S Flora's Impenetrable. A 78 SAS DT. Saurian Star Alliance Untamed. And this used to be for sale. It no longer is. Why would that be, Quickdraw?
Why is that no longer for sale? Does anyone recognize this deck or this name?
Let's see. In Untamed, it's
Murph
got
might
Beach
recognize
Day,
this one.
2 Deepwater Gruin, 2 Witch of the Dawn.
It's interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So I purchased this deck today, and you featured the evil twin of this deck just a week ago. I played the evil twin of this deck in the Kagi finals versus Ashitaka, and you sent me the list of the fresh marks from DT today, and I saw that name. I was like, wait a minute, that's my evil twin, or that's my good twin. And so I reached out. It's a seller I've worked with before, and came to a very fair price, I thought, for both sides. I was like, this is my twin deck. I need this, and it's going to be in the mail, and it'll be mine pretty soon. I'll have another twin united, and this time it's a very good very good deck here with an amazing Untamed suite.
Yeah.
It's got the Hings and Gross. The Saurian's okay. It's got some good creature control in it. I'm just very excited to unite the twins, but I do think that these have some potential together as like, a good pairing of a deck. If you there's like, what was the format where you would bring two decks, exchange. Did you ever play exchange?
Yeah, I have.
It was always my dream to play exchange with two twins of decks.
Oh.
And exchange is when you bring two decks and your opponent steals one and they play with one and you play with the other one, and then you do the same for them. And so I would just love to see, playing exchange in person, maybe see the look in their face if you go to exchange with these evil twin decks, and you go into it with the advantage of knowing each of them, like they're working very similarly, and they might think it's a trap. Like, which one do I take? The evil
Yeah.
twin?
I
Do I
love
want the
that
evil
idea.
Chelonia or the non-evil twin Chelonia?
I love that idea.
So
That's very cool. And I mean, this is such a Keyforge story. Like it was like serendipitous that we talked about like, oh yeah, maybe you could like help with Fresh Marks. I sent you the list, and you're
it
like,
was.
this is the evil twin of the deck I just
I
played in the
couldn't believe
Kagi
it.
finals.
And you had just streamed it last week. It was crazy.
Yeah,
What a coincidence.
it's so cool. Yeah, so that one's off the market for good. Congratulations, that is so cool.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Another Italian deck. Shadows Unfathomable Untamed at 81 SAS being sold by Conte
Ooh.
Kale Top Decks, no listed price. Another Italian name.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the spot with a lot of Italian names tonight. So this one's
Indeed.
RD che prevede il deposito del sonno.
Very nice. And also a really, really good Untamed here. It's actually very similar with the Chelonia, Double Deepwater Gruin, Double Witch of the Dawn, a Gross Surge.
Yeah, this is like alliance worthy Untamed, I think. It has 11 creatures with a Chelonia. It's got the two Deepwater Gruns and the two Witch of the Dawns. If this does this deck have an evil twin?
It does not.
That's too bad. That
It
evil twin
is.
would be spicy right there.
Yeah. The one thing
Two
it's
evil
missing is
twin.
a Key Frog, like yours has,
Yeah,
but
that's true. The Key Frog is always good. This is a
the
lot of fun though.
Shadows is
The
amazing.
Shadows is very spicy. Combo that I really love in Shadows, this has, which is Brend, Hard Simpson, and Stirrup Trouble. Very cool
Nice.
combo.
Yeah.
This looks like a really, really cool deck.
Steel 4, I like that. Yeah, it looks like a very nice deck. No list price, so being listed for sale. I would love it. I would love its evil twin. Yeah. So it's listed for sale.
I like that one.
All right, and the last DT deck, also a high SAS, 81 SAS. Star Alliance Unfathomable Untamed, also being sold by Conte Kale. No listed price.
It's also Italian.
Also Italian. Go for it.
Goblin Burocrate di Mina Squillante.
Oh.
Goblin.
And
Goblin's a cool name.
yeah, this one is kind of it's got a little bit kind of everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have the expected amber of the previous Untamed suite, but it's still a really good Untamed. It's got Punctuated Equilibrium, a few more actions in this one. The creature count's only just 5 in Untamed, but there's no Chelonia.
Yep.
So it's like a very different feel in the Untamed in this one. Action based as opposed to creature based. The encounter suit. Any good targets for the encounter suit there?
Nothing amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double
Maybe
Maelstrom.
Hookmaster, but it's a
Hookmaster's
turn
true.
later.
That's probably the good one. Yeah. Double
But
Maelstrom with 15 creatures, 16 pips. That's not bad.
yeah, the things that I saw here was the together. You could do the punctuated equilibrium off the together, which might be cool. And
Good
then you could
call.
also do the Hookmaster and counter suit in one turn with the together potentially.
Yep. Yep. There's no Calp in here. Calp is one that I always look for with together and encounter suit.
Ooh,
I feel like that's a
yeah,
pretty spicy
that's a
one.
good one.
Yeah.
But it's
Not
got
bad though.
some good creature control all across all 3 houses.
That's a good call out. That's actually really important. I have some decks that have like just creature control in one house, and sometimes you're facing a big board and you're forced to make like a less than ideal decision. It's nice to have that flexibility to have it in all houses.
Yeah. Fudgeinator says this one's kind of meh, or yeah,
I mean, next to the last one, the last one was
that's true.
spicy.
That's true.
I mean,
Yep.
still looks pretty good.
It does. So, yes, every week I will be now including DT in Fresh Mark, so that's exciting. Lots of cool decks. So excited about that. And yeah, that's the last deck of the week. We'll kind of catch up on the rest of the DT decks next week.
Love it. Yeah, great segment. I'm glad DT is now more fully a part of it. And like you guys
Yes.
said, you said this earlier, and Fudgeinator says it a lot. Like the SAS is just not quite there for it, and that's it is what it is. It's a harder set to evaluate. There's a lot of things that you can't quite just put a number on, and that's that's how SAS goes. And it's good to kind of branch out and include a little bit more in the fresh marks. I like it.
Definitely. Like I'm actually like you guys got to give me feedback. Like I'm surprised I didn't hear this from like all you DT best set people. Like why aren't you including DT in this? Like at one time I was like I had thought about it a while ago and then I forgot about it and then I thought about it again. I was like, "Wait, I haven't done this yet. We need DT in here." And so, yeah, if you guys
Yeah.
got ideas, let me know. You can tell me I'm stupid, I'm doing things wrong. I don't care. I'm just trying to improve. So, let me know.
Well, you're not stupid. We love fresh marks. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you can definitely add DT to it.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Good. And then one more thing I have for you. I forgot to ask you this. Have you got your Winds of Exchange yet? Talking about best
Oh,
sets,
oh,
the
so
new one
excited.
that's coming. Have you got your Winds of Exchange yet? Do you have
Uh,
a. Yeah.
Friday. It's coming Friday.
Nice. Mine too.
Yes, awesome. I got an email last Friday saying that it was like being shipped, and I was just pumped. Like everyone's waiting for that email.
Yeah.
And then it was like 4 days where there was
Eee.
no updates, and the tracking continued to say we're waiting for the postal service to pick up this item. And I
Oh,
was like,
no.
it was driving me crazy.
No
Like I
kidding.
was totally losing my mind. And then finally, I think it was last night. I want to say it was during Bot of the Beaker. I actually got the email to say like
Yes, you updated
it's
them.
picked up
Yeah.
and it'll be there Friday. And I was like, thank God. So yes, I go on vacation Saturday. It will arrive Friday. So I'm hoping to check it out a little bit with my at least the personalized decks and the
Awesome.
Savior deck on Friday. So
All right. Well,
can't
good
wait.
luck and have
You
fun.
too.
Congratulations. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's an episode. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for staying up late. It's really late on the East Coast. I know that you kind of went out of your way to be part of this. I really
Not at
appreciate
all.
it.
Well worth it. Thank you so much, Doc, for having me on.
Yep. And with that, thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you next week. Sometime we'll probably have an NKFL match coming up. We're playing against Karen this week. Not sure when that will be. But if nothing else, I'll be here next Wednesday for the next episode of Data Forge. With that, thanks everybody, and see you next time. Bye.
Thanks all. See you.